House of Representatives right now. Joining me now is Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California. Congresswoman, thanks for being here.
Our pleasure. Glad to be with you, Joy.
All right, Congresswoman. So even before the BuzzFeed story, there was a certain momentum in the House, even when Democrats weren't in control of it, that Donald Trump had already done enough to be impeached. In your mind, putting aside and setting aside the BuzzFeed story, do you believe that Donald Trump has committed high crimes and misdemeanors worthy of impeachment?
Thank you, Joy. Well, in fact, Joy, last year I voted twice to start the impeachment process. I think what's important now is to recognize that all of these allegations that have come forward and are coming forward require a thorough and full investigation. And so we're fighting to make sure that the Mueller investigation continues. But also we must remember that Congress has a responsibility. And so we have a responsibility for oversight and to conduct investigations. We have our House Intelligence Committee, our Oversight Committee, and our Judiciary Committee. So I hope the Republicans stop covering up for the president, which they have done historically since he's been in office, and move forward for these investigations to lead us to where the facts, to expose the facts and lead us where they lead.
And you know, I guess that's the frustration a lot of people have, right? Is that when you hear leadership talk about impeachment, they say, let's let the Mueller process play out. For, you know, maybe putting aside the fact that you just mentioned, Congress has its own investigative committees. It has its own investigative resources. Congress can itself conduct investigations. Impeachment, you know, to the Yoni Applebaum point, is not just about throwing Donald Trump out. It's also about the public hearing of what he has done and whether what he has done has harmed the United States and the presidency. So is there a growing chorus, not just the freshmen, but among other members of your colleagues to say, you know what, we shouldn't just wait on Mueller and hinge everything on him. This is something Congress should do.
Absolutely. And Joy, even before we won the elections in November, there was a call for the Republicans to conduct their oversight per what the Constitution requires.
Well, we know they weren't going to
do
that. Right. We knew they weren't going to
do that. And so now with Democrats in control, what we're doing is moving forward. And I would say the majority of our Democratic colleagues really want to see these investigations move forward to determine the facts and to determine the conclusion into where we should take action with regard to impeachment.
Right. I mean, Devin Nunes and other members of the House made it very clear that they were not interested in doing that. They were very, very clear about that. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the shutdown. You and I'm sure other members of the House have been receiving an earful when you all fly. You're seeing TSA agents. What are people telling you when you're talking with your constituents about what the shutdown is doing to them?
Joy, this is just wreaking havoc on the lives of federal workers and others. I met with many constituents around what is taking place, and several have indicated to me the pain and suffering that they're going through. For example, one is when you look at the work that they do, in addition to them not being paid for their job, and also those who are coming to work, paying and buying gas just to get to work, to not receive a paycheck. But when you listen to the impact it's having on their lives in terms of their credit ratings, having to make choices between paying their mortgage or their rent or buying food, not being able to pay for their child care, they wanted me to convey to the public that what they do in terms of their jobs, public safety, food safety, you know, they provide for disaster relief. There's so many important jobs that these people are performing for the public. And so we have to really recognize not only are they suffering, and this is really un-American and immoral, the jobs that they do are jobs with dignity, and they deserve to be paid because they're public servants. Also, Joy, I just have to remind you that because of the discrimination in the private sector, historically African Americans' pathway into the middle class has been through the federal government. Between 18 to 20% federal workers are African Americans, and one of my constituents told me that he had 8 members of his family who work for the federal government. Now, no one can borrow from anyone, and so this is really shattering their family structure and their economic security.
Yeah, absolutely. A day ahead of MLK Day, no less. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, thank you very much for your time.